Listen to Bill Burr say the quiet part out loud. It's what Star Wars fans have been feeling for quite some time.
Some of the biggest bullies right now, I can't believe it because I'm a lefty, are on my side of the fence.
I think he's exactly right. Let's get into it.
They don't like aggressive men. They don't like manly men. And so they push it as well.
No, because they're aggressive and they're controlling and they want to run.
Yes, yes.
Lucasfilm boss Kathleen Kennedy says a lot of women in Star Wars struggle with fan attacks, quote, because of the fan base being so male dominated. Is that why they were trying to replace it with women then?
Yes, yes.
Huh? What are you talking about, mate?
Because I feel like Star Wars is very like patriarchal, so it was kind of cool to have like this sort of woman-centered figure.
And that's because that's the thing where, like, if you really look at their agenda, when they say the future is feminine, that's not inclusive. And they're all about, oh, make this more inclusive. It's like, no, let us in so we can take it over and then we'll push you down. Is the psychology of the kind of person that goes after that, someone that's after like power. I'm not saying the average woman is like that. My wife is a feminist and she's into like inclusive. But like people who are spearheading stuff,
yes,
like those people are wired the same way. Like, you know, I mean,
a dominator is.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
And there's going to be no room for you. It's going to be like think the way, like a lot of that so-called progressives, extreme left is think the way we think, say what we say, or we will fucking destroy you. This is just a typical fucking bald white male.
Yep.
And they go in that route. It's like you literally sound like what the you're against, and
they're bullying people.
Yes. Some of the biggest bullies right now, I can't believe it because I'm a lefty, are on my side of the fucking fence. And you know, when someone's on your side of the fence and you're looking at them like you sound like a fucking crazy person, that's when you've entered, like, you know, what was your special? Strange Times?
Yeah.
Weird, yeah. Like, it's like...
It is strange.
And then there's just like this psycho extra level of liberal where it's just like they are as insane as some of the craziest people on like a right-wing thing. Like they're just totally extremists, and I find there's a lot of bullying out here, just as much labeling, but they're patting themselves on the back because they feel like the way they think everything should be is so right because they live near an ocean.
But we, the fan base, are told that we're the toxic ones. We're the ones that have the problem. We're the ones that don't understand and need to just move on.
In an interview with Premiere, Ridley was asked if she felt that this violent reaction to Rey, I love how they throw these words in, violent reaction to Rey. No, no, no. I know that some people have expressed themselves negatively, but I don't pay attention to it because it doesn't really concern me. I can't change the way some men see women. Unfortunately, that's how society works. Yeah, it's unfortunate when a group or a fandom that doesn't like a form of art, such as today's day and age of movies, instead of being criticized as, you know, they have poor taste in films, they're now seen as all hating women. That's literally what it's come down to. It's like, you don't like this piece of art because you hate women, because you're racist, you're homophobic. How many times do we have to keep going over this same sort of scenario?
And this is exactly what Bill Burr is talking about. How one side is bullying another, but that's not the narrative that gets spun. That's not the narrative that gets picked up by the legacy media and talked about by all of the Disney shills. Instead, it's us, the toxic fans, who are the problem. It's not the product. It's not the writing. It's not the directing. It's not the plan of Disney. It's not the ignoring of lore. It's none of that. Instead, it's just because you don't like women.
Certainly, there have been times where, you know, there's no way we're hiring a white male person.
Just kind of unspoken.
There are times when it's spoken, but
how would they say it?
There's no way we're hiring a white male person. They say
like straight to you,
yeah.
Or okay.
They'd be very careful how they message that to agents. I've been at the company 11 years now, so I have friends in HR and I have friends in those divisions. You know, look, nobody else is going to tell you this, Mike, but they're not considering any white males for a shot. They're just not. That's
That they not only discriminate against white men when recruiting and hiring middle management, they actually give bonuses for hiring and retaining employees that are specifically not white.
Now, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who they're hiring, what race or gender or sexuality, none of that really matters, except when you're putting that at the expense of the product. If I'm getting on a plane, I don't want my pilot to be someone who is retained for any other reason except for the fact that they're really good at flying planes. And when we're pointing this out as fans, when we're trying to bring attention to the fact that the most recent Star Wars project that came out was just poorly done, meanwhile, a side of the fandom just feels it needs to support this thing, defend this thing, all the way to the end, to the point of trying to get the second season, all because they believe the same as Disney. Objectivity is out the window. There's no ability to even have a dialogue about what was good and what was bad about The Acolyte or about any Star Wars project, because we just get labeled as ists and phobes. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some fans who have gone too far. If fans are going after actors, after actresses, saying things in DMs and on Twitter that just attack them instead of the core root of the problem, which is Disney is focusing on the wrong thing. They actually even think some of these decisions is what's going to bring them more money.
So is it intentional that they want, like, they only look for diverse candidates for certain roles?
Yeah. I think there's certainly a belief that it's just good for society and they can do. But there's also a belief that, like, we're going to make more money if we appeal to a wider variety of people. And it's a good thing. We have shareholders too, you know. And so diversity helps with that.
Diversity helps with financial incentive.
Yeah.
But is that actually true? As some Hollywood productions swing more and more into DEI practices and prioritizing the wrong things over the actual story, they're seeing their audience and viewership drop. This is what has started to happen with shows like Rings of Power and Agatha All Along and some of the Marvel shows, and we're seeing more and more when Hollywood puts this priority instead of the actual story, it just actually fails. So where is the money coming from? The money that they're looking at is not talking about the fans, they're talking about shareholders. They're really just placating to these shareholders to make them feel better about their investment, not from a financial standpoint, but purely from a moral standpoint. They're playing all of these games. Partly why I think George Lucas had said he would have never been allowed to make the prequels the way he wanted to because of practices like this. Now, he didn't link it directly back to the corporate hiring and firing practices and the casting. No, but the meddling of these big corporations in the product so that they can sell it to shareholders. At the end of the day, they don't even really care, I don't think, that it's failing as long as their shareholders are happy. But here's the thing. How much longer will shareholders continue to invest in something that is losing money?
Bob Iger's pay doubled in 2023 as Disney laid off 7,000 employees, released box office bombs back to back to back. Bob Iger saw his compensation more than double last year as the once great studio continues to struggle financially and creatively. Bob Iger earned $31.6 million in total comp for the fiscal year that ended in September, up from $15 million in 2022. His 2023 pay included a salary of $865,000, stock awards of $16.1 million, and $10 million in stock options awards, $2.1 million in performance-based compensation, $2.48 million in other pay. Iger's pay increase came as Disney experienced another bad year. Company laid off 7,000 employees worldwide and is planning an additional $2 billion in cuts. Disney streaming services have lost billions of dollars as the company splurges on content that is having a difficult time connecting with the audience.
That's insane. Now, only 2.1 million of that increase was performance-based. But why is there any increase for anyone as they're laying off employees and as they're just losing money year after year? Don't believe me? Take a look at this stock valuation from back 2014 to today. So the last 10 years.
For valuation is what? 170 billion. 2023, 165 billion. 2022, 158 billion. It dropped 43%, 44% from 2021 at 281 down to 158 billion. In 2020, it's 328 billion.
Jeez.
2019, 257 billion. 2018, 164, and then you have 162. So from 2015 to today, 10 years, the stock is flat.
So what does that mean? That means once Disney Plus launched and streaming services everywhere around the pandemic were making money hand over fist as everyone was just consuming at home online, they've come back to where they were 10 years ago. Basically, the way that they've handled Star Wars and Marvel over the past 10 years has got them absolutely nowhere. So every Star Wars TV show, everything produced since the beginning of Disney Plus has not grown Disney at all. In fact, it's just kept regressing and regressing and regressing under Bob Iger, under Kathleen Kennedy, under all of those executives who want to choose these hiring practices instead of doing what might be best for the actual story that they're trying to tell. But yet, we're the ones, the fans are the ones who are not consuming it enough. Now, full transparency, I mentioned this recently on a stream. I, for the first time this month, have canceled my Disney Plus. I'm not saying that as a virtue signal. I'm not telling you what to do with your money, but I finally got to the point personally where I was not getting any return that I felt was worthwhile on that cost. Meanwhile, they keep raising the price. They keep adding now in ads to make more money because streaming isn't truly profitable. They've taken things off of the platform, turned them into movies. And what do we see continuing to happen? People are not consuming what they're producing. We still hold the power. We still have the power to support what we want to support and not support what we don't. And that means we need to make sure that we are supporting the projects that Disney does that are good, if there are any, and ignoring the ones that are bad. And the next time someone says that Disney has a toxic fan problem, just share them this video.
We had a situation where we wanted to hire somebody in the department a few years ago now, who was half black, but didn't appear half black. And there was a creative executive who was like, we're not, that's not what we want.